This program has been brought to you thanks to the generous contributions of our patrons on Patreon. Your patronage is greatly appreciated. And for more content like this, be sure to check out the Modern Alchemist channel on Patreon. Greetings, and welcome to the Modern Alchemist channel. I'm Aubrey Forrest, the Modern Alchemist, and this is Alchemy After Hours. Today on Alchemy After Hours, I want to continue our dialogue about the soul. This is something that we've been talking about together here on the Modern Alchemist channel for several months, in one form or another. And to me, any discussion of the soul is precious. It's important because it's always so personal. It doesn't get any more personal than the discussion of what your soul is. Because regardless of your religious or philosophical standing, the soul, it is agreed upon, it is you. It is the outcome of who you are. It is the result of your existence. It is you more than anything else. It is the thing that you are given possession of and the thing that you are asked to let go of. It's the thing that for literally thousands of years we have clamored together and in an appeal that our soul might be preserved, because collectively it is essentially agreed upon that while the spirit is eternal, the soul is here, and then it's not, and then it goes away. And this is the source of extraordinary grief for so many, myself included, because you really come to appreciate the weight of death, the burden of it. And certainly as I've gotten older and I'm feeling my age, kind of creep upon me, the wells and reservoirs that once were always easily available to me are now drying up, and I have to be selective often as to the kind of activities I choose to do, just because I don't always have the energy necessary to do everything that I used to be able to do all at once. And each of us, as we encounter this, as we go from this endless reservoir of energy and then watch that decline, watch the bell curve of life, we recognize that too is an expression of our soul. This is what I am. This is what has become of me. And it's just the thing. The soul is the thing. And so I want to talk at greater length about this, and I want to cast forward some hope, because definitely, especially if you study the work of Buddha and you understand what he means when he describes life as samsara, an internal cycle of sadness. And when you come to grips with nihilism and the idea that in spite of everything that you do, it is all futile. It won't last. The center cannot hold, and things blow up and fall apart and disintegrate and become something else. And we have all of human history and all of that weight standing as evidence of the truth of that. And this is something that then has caused people to anguish even more and be like, well, how can I, even just a tiny bit of me, be preserved in some measure among the living? Like that's ultimately what we seek. And often we seek that in our children. We seek that in our grandchildren by teaching them the things that we are, that might be remembered, so that they'll tell stories of their crazy grandpa or their wild aunt who would go traveling all over the world, or any of these other significant people that you as a person today may never meet, only except for through the eyes and the words of the person telling that story. And this is the crux, this is the very center, this is the heart of ancestral worship. The idea being to bring forward those that are deceased, those who are no longer resonant within the domain of the living, and to give them a point of existence again here, an eternal day, a complete cycle. I mean, that's all of it. To me, I have such awe and appreciation of those countries and those cultures that have cultivated within themselves a repository of living memory of those who have gone before them. It's remarkable to me, and it's beautiful. But again, that is restricted to the body of those that are relative to yourself. And eventually, even those memories, those stories will fade, and with them then the capacity to remember those older people. I believe that this is why certain Aboriginal cultures felt that photography was a way of capturing one's soul. We translate it as stealing it, but the truth is it's being captured. That moment in time, which each moment, is a soul in and of itself, right, from start to finish. And so, boom, you've caught it, and there it is. And so all these selfies and things that we do, we're capturing literally digitally, meaning slide by slide, but we're also using digital technology. We're capturing these moments and the soul of that moment, and it's preserved. And it's preserved in greater detail than any words can ever express, right? Hence the saying, a picture paints 1,000 words. Well, absolutely. And just imagine, all the things that can be remembered and told by simply having that photograph. Well, even this, though, is something that will languish and perish. And for clarity here, remember that for me, and from what I have gathered through the course of my pursuit of this singular topic, because it has occupied an extraordinary amount of my attention over the years, especially when one is conscripted to fundamentalist religion by your own doing, right? So you're there, and now you're part of this worldview, and you want to make sure that you abide by it so that you can be preserved, because it's worth doing, right? It's worth preserving. It's you. If you're not worth preserving, then what is? The idea being that if you're here still, you can still do things and take care of things and contribute. And if you're not, you don't know what you're doing. All you can see is the body is now separate from the spirit, and the person's gone. And anyone who's been to a funeral and with an open casket viewing, they absolutely know nobody's home. I've been to several, and I'm telling you, you're just looking, you're just like, no one's there. They are gone. That's just literally what's left. And so, and the idea then is the soul is comprised of materia and the spirit. It's this momentary thing. And it's always momentary, and it's always relativistically momentary, meaning that on a galactic scale, human life is not even the blink of a galactic eye. It's just so short. It's like we were never here. And they boom, and then we're gone. And then, what was there someone there? I don't know, because the universe is of such great expanse. And similarly, as you keep reducing things down, and this is a fascinating concept that we'll discuss in much greater detail later when we talk about alternate dimensions and Alchemy Lab Rubedo. The idea of other planes, as you reduce down, so you go up and to the center. So from my perspective as a human being, down to, let's say, this perspective of a cell, and then down to the perspective of atomic nuclei, and then down into a single atom. And as we keep moving downward, progressively, layer by layer, each one of those layers speeds up. So the farther out you go, the slower everything gets. And the farther in you go, the faster everything becomes. And you can see the two pillars there as well, right? Well, in the middle between that infinite speed and infinite inertia, that's where we are, where materia has coalesced on one side and yet is still pliable enough to contain the energy of spirit. And together then, but it can only do it for a little bit. It can only do it for a short while and then it's gone, because its capacity to do that is limited by virtue of the nature of its creation. So anything that has a beginning will have an end. And everything has a beginning except for ultimately the universe, right? Which is endless and without beginning or end, because it's the all, so it's everything, right? But everything inside of that is constructed in terms of a period. It's why Saturn has creator god and death god and god of harvest, why that pillar inherits severity, because things are and then they are not, and that's the rules. And on the other side, it's everything is possible because it's pure force, it's pure light, it's pure energy, it's pure thought, it's pure consciousness, pure imagination, driving into that rigid structure and its plasticity and making us. Well, that plasticity extends beyond just the life that you see around you. It extends beyond the plants and the ground and the oceans and the sky. It extends into the impact, the reverberation, the vibratory field that is generated by virtue of the existence of everything. And from moment to moment, all of that fragments. It's like the human body sloughing off hundreds of thousands of skin cells every day, right? Well, in the same idea, the same concept, the universe is fragmenting and shattering and exploding out into little soul fragments that then impact everything else and carry forward an altered state by virtue of the interaction with the thing that it is encountered. And so, on a human scale, you go out into the world and you meet a person for the first time, and they introduce you, and you introduce each other to each other. And in that interaction, many of us have experienced that your entire life has suddenly just changed. You can look at that point and go, that is the point. My life was never the same again. Two souls interacting, colliding, and fragmenting, and each absorbing a bit of the other, becoming one soul, becoming connected. Orson Scott Card in his Ender's Game series, he relates this as a philotic connection, relating to the Greek word philos, or brotherly love. And that this connection is like a strand of energetic fiber going from one person to another. And each time we have contact with each other, that connection can strengthen or lessen depending on the nature of that contact and how our interaction was. Are we building and nurturing that relationship, or are we severing it? So, and so that's how he sees this interconnectedness. Now, imagine that we are able to generate parts of ourself and then just give that to another person. The most practical example of that, to me, would be baking cookies, wherein you are reading from a recipe, and this recipe might be handed down. It might be a family recipe that was created by your great grandmother. And so that recipe, that knowledge, the experience that went into creating that recipe, it is transferred onward. And the experience was generated by that great great grandmother. That coalescence of savory, chocolatey goodness, that is the remaining product of the soul and character of that giving woman from way back long time ago. And you are drawing from that essence and then providing your own in terms of your own effort to create the cookies so that you can then give those as a token of love and a gesture of kindness to another person. And as they consume it and as they eat it, they're not simply eating the product of your labor. They're eating the consequence and product of that labor being transmitted over 3 generations to you through your hands, with maybe your own take on that recipe. You might decide a little cinnamon with that chocolate chip cookie might not be so bad. I don't know. But you do it, and the result of that becomes something new, something different. But it is still you. It's now the new you, combined with all the other things that lead up to that. Well, each and every one of us, no matter what we do, no matter what country we live in, no matter what religion we practice, we all are the sum of our parts. We are the sum of every interaction that we have had up until this very second where you're listening to my voice. And you will continue to be the sum of those interactions after our discussion here is over. Interacting, changing, and becoming new and different. And each interaction has a soul of its own, which is why when one of you had talked about how you had gone dancing and how music, I love how so many of you have written to me that music is the thing. It is. It is this amazing language of mathematics brought into vibratory state that can be appreciated only by those of us equipped with the capacity to actually appreciate the music. And so, and then of course, music to me has an emotional component that is undeniable. I have been moved to all kinds and states and forms of consciousness as a result of the music that I was listening to at the moment, from states of joy to states of awe to being brought to tears just because the music is so absolutely meaningful at that moment to me right then, to being irritated, not wanting to hear that song anymore. You know, I mean, it's just remarkable the nature and character of music, and that music in and of itself is its own soul, has its own soul. It's not just soul music. Every form of music contains within it the blending nature and character of every individual putting their talent, their capacity, their intelligence, their feelings together in that moment to create a thing that will have a beginning and a middle, and then it'll be over, and then it's over, and then we are left only with the memory of that music. It's so remarkable to me. And this is why all of it, every bit of it, every piece of it, all that we do as human beings and all that this world is can be seen not simply as a singular thing, but the chain of all the things that that thing has been and continues to be and will be when it stops being. And Hinduism has a fantastic way of presenting this, often with statuary that just have dozens of arms moving and holding different objects, each arm and each hand, each position indicating what that individual has been or has been doing, and recognizing that in the span of eternity, all of it is one activity. All the activities that we do throughout our life, every job, every trip, every show we watch, all the friends we dance with, everyone that we work with, when it's taken in total, it is only one thing. and it is one life, one soul expression. So I want you to realize and consider then that the universe, as I see it, is a kaleidoscope of soul moving, fragmenting, dividing, uniting, forming, dissolving, and reforming into new and different things, a constant flow of life and death and life. And so it's I get asked many times, what do I think about reincarnation? And my answer is look around. I don't think that I am going to come back again, like this. I don't think that that is possible because the new me, whenever that person would be born under different circumstances than I was born. Different parents, perhaps a brother or sister, a different kind of family, different culture, different period and different time. All of the things that have coalesced to make my soul what it is today would be absent from my reincarnated self. The only thing that might be similar might be a genetic heritage that allows me to hear that music, to hear that song, and feel it as if it were my song, my memories. But they're not. They can't be. Your memories are your own, and the ones that you may be picking up on as a result of your heritage, as a result of your sense of reincarnated state. So that music then is basically you drawing upon the Akashic record, the record of that life, and being able to read it because you are so equipped that your equipment is similar in terms of heredity, in terms of perhaps some kind of link between yourself and the other person. After all, there are a lot of people on the planet now, and a lot of diversity, a lot of heritages have combined. And so that has expanded our capacity to recollect previous quote unquote incarnations. Reconnect would be my feeling with that ancestral heritage. And another reason why ancestral worship can be an impressive thing, philosophically speaking, because it seeks then to keep lines of communication going, bloodlines, if you will, which allow then that person to channel or to experience the thoughts, memories, or experiences of perhaps an ancient relative. So, but ultimately, each soul is its own thing. Each soul is its own person. It's unique. And this is known. It's resisted because it's so dismal. Because we don't know. Beyond the truth that nothing is forgotten, all things are ultimately remembered, but not necessarily by us. They are kept and remembered within the halls of the Akashic record. They're there. It's just a matter of you have to know what you're looking for in order to find it. You can't just stumble across a thing necessarily. It's always an active process when appealing to that record for insight or pure intelligence. Anyway, so I wanted to just point out then that everything that you do is an expression of your soul, both for good or for ill. So the idea then, very Buddhist in fact, or Christian in character, would be this: to be as good to others as you possibly can be, to allow the impact of your soul to work harder at tipping the balance in favor of the other, tipping the balance towards the universe and a positive change wherever you might be, whether it's in a line at a fast food store or going through the grocery store or driving in traffic, or anything that you might be doing, working with coworkers, dealing with clients. Remember that there's more to this than just the moment. Your moment and what you do together extends into other moments, like little fragments, breaking, shattering, moving, transmuting, and molding into something new. And the direction, the vector that that takes is often determined by you, by how you choose to vibrate. And if you choose to allow your vibration to be something that is destructive or constructive, and choosing to be that until it is, in fact, always your nature and character, not simply because it seems like a great idea, but because that's just who you've become. All right, I'm Aubrey Forrest, the modern alchemist, and this has been Alchemy After Hours, where we've continued our discussion of the soul. And I've hopefully provided a bit of hope in the knowledge that you are kept and remembered, and that you, as you interact with others, that memory of that interaction may not be specifically to you, but there are larger fields of consciousness at play here that are using and relying upon us to gain knowledge of experience in this frame of reference. That we are as important as the things that we rely upon to feed us and to nurture us and to keep us safe and to keep us healthy. As much as we rely upon things which we consider to be below us, so too, I believe, there's a corresponding relationship, so that as below, so above, meaning that as we are learning, growing, experiencing, prospering, developing our soul, that has an impact. That has an impact that vibrates and alters the fabric of reality in such a way that eternity experiences something new with each and every person, something different, something unique. It experiences the soul of that moment within the life of that individual, that being, that organism. All right, I'm Aubrey Force, the modern alchemist. I'll be talking to you soon.